Iran delivers back-to-back shock to US President Donald Trump after Washington delays attacks on Tehran's power grid. Iran has ruled out holding any negotiations with the US while America's Arab allies mull deeper involvement into the conflict. Is Iran's power grid less vulnerable than compared to US allies in the Persian Gulf? Iran gives a huge reality check amid threats. Iran's Islamic Revolutionary Guard Corps again threatens Israel before the arrival of thousands of US Marines in the Middle East on Trump's deadline. An Iranian lawmaker said negotiations with the United States were off the table after President Donald Trump announced a temporary truce and suggested contacts with Tehran. Parliament Deputy Speaker Ali Nikzad said Iran could still escalate pressure in energy markets, according to reporting that quoted his warning. Nikzad's remarks came after Trump said on March 23 that he was talking to the Iranian side, a claim Iranian outlets and officials pushed back on. Ali Nikzad said, and I quote, "Washington had made a strategic mistake and failed to weaken Iran's system. The country would not return the Strait of Hormuz to normal conditions. There is no negotiation," unquote. Earlier, Trump had given Iran a 48-hour ultimatum to reopen the Strait of Hormuz or face attacks on energy and power infrastructure. He then announced a 5-day pause in strikes, saying negotiations were underway with the Iranian side. Iran's energy minister has downplayed the threat of attacks on Iran's power plants, suggesting the country can better absorb such pressure than some of its Gulf neighbors. Instead, Abbas Aliabadi said Persian Gulf states are more vulnerable to this kind of escalation because their power, water, and energy systems are more exposed to disruption. Abbas Aliabadi said, and I quote, "Iran produces electricity in a decentralized manner across the country, making its power grid less vulnerable than those of the Persian Gulf states and Israel. Iran operates more than 150 power plants nationwide, while countries in the region rely on more centralized systems that are more exposed to disruption. If power plants are hit, they will be rebuilt and modernized quickly," unquote. Several Persian Gulf governments are inching closer to direct involvement in the US war effort against Iran, according to Wall Street Journal reporting and related coverage. The Wall Street Journal reported that Saudi Arabia and the UAE have both taken steps that could expand their role in the conflict, even if neither has formally entered the war. Saudi Arabia has allowed US forces to use King Fahd Air Base, a key facility that could support operations against Iran. The UAE has also moved against Iranian-linked financial and commercial networks, adding an economic security dimension to its support posture. These shifts come just before the arrival of thousands of additional US Marines and amphibious assets in the region. According to the Wall Street Journal, thousands of US Marines are due to arrive in the Middle East on March 27. The USS Tripoli, the USS New Orleans, and about 2,200 Marines from the 31st Marine Expeditionary Unit are expected to enter CENTCOM's area of responsibility before the weekend. Notably, that timing coincides with the day Trump's latest Iran deadline was expected to expire, increasing the possibility of fresh strikes if talks fail.
Mr. President, Iran's foreign ministry says you're not telling the truth when it comes to productive conversations, and well, they're going to have to get themselves better public relations people. We have had very, very strong talks. We'll see where they lead. We have the major points of agreement. I would say almost all points of agreement. Perhaps that hasn't been conveyed. The communication, as you know, has been blown to pieces. They're unable to talk to each other. But we've had very strong talks. Mr. Witkoff and Mr. Kushner had them. They went, I would say, perfectly. I would say that if they carry through with that, it'll end that problem, that conflict. And I think it'll end it very, very substantially. We have very much in mind our partners in the Middle East. We've had great relationships with a lot of them, as you know. A lot of them were surprisingly hit. And I was surprised to see it, and so was everyone else. But they're very much in mind in the discussions. So the discussions took place yesterday. They went into yesterday evening. They want very much to make a deal. We'd like to make a deal too. We're going to get together today by probably phone, because it's very hard to find a country. It's very hard for them to get out, I guess. But we'll at some point very, very soon meet. We're doing a 5-day period. We'll see how that goes. And if it goes well, we're going to end up with settling this. Otherwise, we'll just keep bombing our little hearts out.
Who's Steve Witkoff speaking with, Mr. President?
A top person, don't forget. We've wiped out the leadership phase 1, phase 2, and largely phase 3. But we're dealing with the man who I believe is the most respected and the leader. It's a little tough. They've wiped out everybody.
Is that the Supreme Leader?
No, not the Supreme Leader. We don't. Well, nobody heard of the second Supreme Leader, the son.
Are these
We have not heard from the son. Every once in a while you'll see a statement made, but we don't know if he's living. But the people that seem to be running it, and they seem that based on really fact, because things they've said have taken place.
Mr. President?
Again.
Mr. President, I know you deployed.
Because I don't want him to be killed. Okay, I don't want him to be killed.
Mr. President,
Nobody wants to be that. Nobody wants that job right now. Nobody's exactly looking forward to being the head of that particular country, but perhaps we'll be able to solve that problem.
And what about the Strait of Hormuz? Who's going to be in control of
That
that?
would be open very soon if this was.
How soon? And who's in control of the Iran's to be able to control the oil?
He jointly controlled.
By who?
Maybe me.
About the United States?
Me and the Ayatollah, whoever the Ayatollah is, whoever the next Ayatollah. Look, and there'll also be a very serious form of a regime change. Now, in all fairness, everybody's been killed from the regime. They're really starting to go up. There's automatically a regime change. But we're dealing with some people that I find to be very reasonable, very solid. The people within know who they are. They're very respected. And maybe one of them will be exactly what we're looking for. Look at Venezuela, how well that's working out. We are doing so well in Venezuela with oil and with the relationship between the president-elect and us. And maybe we find somebody like that. Correct.
Are you considering any more options to lower the price of oil while the cost?
The price of oil will drop like a rock as soon as the deal is done. I guess it already is today. We have a very serious chance of making a deal. That doesn't guarantee anything. I'm not guaranteeing anything. I'm not going to come out here in a week or 2 weeks and have you all say, oh, you said. I didn't say anything. All I'm saying is we are in the throes of a real possibility of making a deal. And I think if I were a betting man, I'd bet for it. But again, I'm not guaranteeing anything. They want to make a deal very badly.
The IRGC has also threatened to hit Israel without restraint if it continues bombing civilians in Lebanon and Gaza, according to Iranian-aligned reporting. Iranian messaging further accused Israel of exploiting wartime conditions to commit extensive war crimes against civilians in both theaters. IRGC statement said, and I quote, "If such acts continue, the IRGC will wage heavy missile and drone attacks at Israeli troops in northern Israel and the area near Gaza without restraint." Unquote. On March 23rd, Iran claimed that it had shot down 2 more US drones in the country's south, according to Iranian state-linked reporting. Mehr news agency said the 2 US suicide combat drones were destroyed by Iranian air defense systems before they could strike. Iranian army statements said the drones were shot down over Bandar Abbas in southern Iran near the Persian Gulf. Mehr further reported that the latest incident brought the total number of drones down by Iran's Joint Air Defense Headquarters to 129.